Yeah, I'm gonna knock him out. Don't do it. I told you. Not too much. Cold. I told you, man. Cold. Yeah, I'm gonna knock him out. Don't do it.
Hi guys, welcome to this video in which I will do some more Q&A, and this is an answer to the question on my video Boxing for Self-Defense, Boxing Champ Knocks Out Bully. So I'll put a link in the description so you can find that one. This is a question I got from William there, and he asked, is it best to hit the side of the chin for a knockout? I've been told by some trainers that a straight punch to the middle center point of the chin is just as effective. Would appreciate your opinion. My reply to him was, both work, but it depends on the specific punch used, the type of impact, the angle of the punch, etc. So the best answer I can give is that the specific context determines the effectiveness, and I'll stand by that. Before we go on, I have to make something clear. I don't believe in best as opposed to excluding everything else. With that I mean that William asked, is it best to hit the side of the chin? And that kind of implies that the center point of the chin might or might not be as effective. I'm not sure if that's what you meant, William, but some people might read it that way. And that's why I want to clarify. My goal with my techniques is that regardless of where I land my techniques, they have an effect. Now, that means that they need to be efficient, effective, have sufficient speed, power, timing, and so on. And that when they land, even if my targeting isn't perfect, that they still get me a result. Obviously, if you hit a vital target or a vulnerable target, the result will be better. So yes, targeting matters, but that shouldn't mean that you stop focusing on all those other aspects. They're equally important. So that's the first thing, that's the qualifier. So that out of the way, I talked about specific punch used. Well, if you're at long range, then hitting the guy with a lead hook or a right hook, if you're in a regular lead, it's going to be really difficult because you're really far out and he's going to see that one coming, and he'll pick you off. We're talking about boxing here with his jab and his cross. So at long range, hitting the side of the chin will be a little bit more difficult if you're just standing face to face with your opponent or your attacker. So yes, in that context, the center point of the chin is the best solution. The impact that you use, as I've explained, is equally important. So I've talked about the 5 types of impact in many of my books and instructional videos. And the point is that you might go for the center of the chin and use a bouncing impact. Well, that is in many cases unlikely to get you the same result as when you use penetrating impact, which is going to be more efficient here. That would be like a quick, lazy jab as opposed to a stiff jab. Now, the type of impact is something that you practice, and you need to be able to deliver the one you need at the moment that you need it, so that you don't have to think about, well, how will I throw that punch? What kind of impact am I going for? That needs to be covered in training, so you can do that instinctively. The angle that I mentioned is something different. And for instance, a good example is that, like I just said, you're facing this guy and he's standing at long range. Well, then sure, throwing a short hook is not going to be a good solution. So you're kind of you can only really depend on your jab and your cross at that stage. Maybe the overhand, but even that's going to be tricky. So let's say jab and cross. Okay, well, what if he throws, instead of you throwing first, he throws first. He throws this big right cross and you take a little step to your left, you slip it, and the punch goes over your shoulder and you manage to evade it. That means that you're no longer straight in front of him. You're slightly at an angle. And if from there you rotate fully into the technique and throw a long left jab, you will be able to hit him more in the side of the chin as opposed to the center. And in that situation, in that context, that's going to be the better punch. If from that angle, after slipping his incoming punch, you insist on trying to land on the center of the chin, it's not going to work from that angle. It's going to be really, really difficult. So thinking about not just the type of punch you use, the type of impact, but also the angle that, let's say the trajectory, if that makes more sense to you, the trajectory that your punch is going to follow from the starting point to the point of impact, that is also going to change constantly. Another example would be that you just hit the guy and he is leaning forward and slightly over towards your right side. Well, maybe from that position you can't really throw a jab or a cross, doesn't work well, but a short lead hook or a short uppercut is going to be a much better target, a much better weapon, sorry. And that means that again, the side of the chin is going to be a better target because his head is turned away from you. So the center point of his chin is also turned away from you. So you won't be able to reach around and get it. And there's a perfectly valuable target right there, the side of the chin. So take that one instead. So all that together means that is the side of the chin a good target to go for? Yes. Center point of the chin? Yes. They're all good. The main thing you want to have is, if you target the head, is that you want to have sufficient impact so that when it lands, that you create a shockwave inside the skull so that his brain, I'm going to say rattle, it doesn't rattle, but that you rattle his brain, so to speak. To do that, there are different ways to achieve that goal, and there are different techniques that you can use. The side of the chin works really well because then you will rotate his chin, and it's that rotation that will create that, I'll call it the short circuit in the brain. It's not a short circuit, but that gets that knockout or knockdown result, or that he's totally groggy. The center of the chin can achieve the same result if you hit it with the right technique, that his head snaps back and that he then ends up being knocked out, or what have you. So they both work. The critical part is that you know in which situation you should use a certain technique, certain type of impact, certain type of angle, and so on, as opposed to another one. That's the true mastery that you're going for. Now, all this stuff I've talked about in more detail in my book, Boxing for Self-Defense, Taking It from the Ring to the Street, and I'll put a link in the description for that. There's a lot more explanation there, but this is the main point when we talk about targeting, that yes, you have to do that, but all the other qualifiers that I just mentioned are equally important. That's why you train, so that you can apply this stuff instantly because you've practiced it over and over. That you don't have to think about, well, which target should I go for now? No, you know which one it is because you've been doing this for so many years. You've trained so hard, you've worked with training partners on the pads, on the heavy bag, sparring, everything, and you've done that. That's the goal. All right, William, I hope this is a good answer. Guys, as always, if you have questions, you can leave them in the comments on my videos, and I'll see what I can do to give you some more answers. All right, that's it. Take care. Bye.